Mum was the first time saw a party was a blues party in my house with my mum serving curry goats and rice and peas and selling it, and then selling beers. She was just so
Wow,
innovative
well
and
done.
creative. That was her. So I think I've always seen that in her.
Hey
Hi,
guys. Hey, welcome to the Pitch Black unboxing show. Welcome to the show, and here we're talking about issue 7. Can you believe we're at issue 7 already?
Goodness me.
But we have got a real delight for you, as we always do. We've got a gentleman called Dr. Carlton Brown, who is a champion for Black entrepreneurs and Black entrepreneurship as a whole. Dr. Carlton, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey, hello, Colin, and hello, Julie. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is ours. So actually, you are a very well-rounded gentleman, Dr. Carlton. You are an academic with an MBA and a PhD, so big respects for that. You are also an entrepreneur. You run a brand called Marshall and Brown, and also you are somewhat of, I guess, an activist, because you wrote something called the Black Entrepreneurs Report in 2021, but we will jump into all of that very soon. So welcome to the Pitch Black unboxing show.
Thank you. As I said, it's great to see you guys, and always smiling and bubbly, and I love that energy you have, both of you. So,
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Carlton, we met for the very first time at a media mixer that was put on by the London Chamber of Commerce and Industry, their Black Business Association, where you were launching the conference, which we'll talk a little bit about, the Black British Entrepreneurs Conference, which is happening in July. So before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit about your background. Who is Dr. Carlton Brown, and what's his journey to now?
Oh, well, that's a really large question. But my journey's been, I went, when I left college, I wanted to go into management. Well, first and foremost, I said I wanted to be a lawyer or a social worker. That was my initial kind of aspirations. My father just said, "Go and get a trade." so
as they do.
Our family origins are from Jamaica, and he wanted me to go and get a trade. And I said to Mum, "I don't want to get a trade. I don't. I want to do something entirely different." And I wanted to become a lawyer or as I said, or a social worker for some strange, bizarre reason. But neither of those things happened. And when I left college, I was doing sort of, I started to do politics. I was doing my politics A level and English, and I got to my second year, and I thought, actually, I don't want to do this. So I went and got a job as a trainee manager in retail. And I was earning money, got a car, and I thought, this is life is already good. And
nice.
So, and I did that for about 5 years. I became a trainee manager and eventually became a manager in retail. But actually, when I got into it after a period of time, I felt actually there's more to life than just doing what I was doing. I enjoyed it, and I earned a lot of money. It was good. It was fun. You had a good social life. It was all very good, fun stuff. But in reality, it wasn't what I wanted. And then it was interesting. I met my wife in 1988, and I was looking to do something different. And she, in London, we have the Evening Standard. On a Thursday evening, the Evening Standard, there were all the job sections in the newspaper at the back of the Evening Standard. And she said, actually, I think this job, I wanted to get into sales and marketing. And she said, there's a job here. And she said, let me help you do your CV. And I sent off my CVs for this job. And I got this job working for Rentokil Initial. Which was a large corporate doing sales and marketing. But it turned out that this job actually was career defining for me. And I ended up staying there for 16 years, and I worked my way through from the sales and marketing right through to becoming a regional director for the south of England and Northern Ireland. So did all of the stuff, and I got headhunted to work for another corporate, and ended up being the national sales and marketing director for the Davis Group. But the journey started off with my wife identifying this job opportunity, because I said, look, I'm fed up with this retail. Saturdays, working all the long hours, occasional Sundays. And, you know, then my kind of career just kind of turned on its head, really. And I got into the sales and marketing in a corporate world, and you know, learning all the things you learn along that journey, really. It was a tough journey, but learned a lot, and it really put me in good shape.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then with your studies, your MBA and your PhD, were you studying while you were in those roles?
Well, you know, we talk about this glass ceiling stuff, right? Where you think that you're in a career and things are not really happening for you. You start to question why. Now, remember, I stopped doing my A-levels, and I said to myself, well, I wonder if it's because, you know, I wasn't thinking of anything nefarious at this point. I'm thinking, why is it that I'm not getting, progress here? Why am I not getting promoted? I was getting promoted within the organization, but actually I was outperforming quite a lot of my contemporaries. But yet still things weren't necessarily happening. So I thought maybe I need to go back and study again. So I went back and did a postgrad level 7, which is equivalent to a master's in leadership. And I got a leadership degree, and then after that, I said, I'm going to do an MBA. So that's what I did. So I did 2 degrees. And I said, well, actually, I'm going to take away any potential excuses why people can't recruit me. And that's principally why I did it. But also, I had an appetite. I had that resurgence of an appetite to want to go back and learn. That's what happened. And you know, you get to that moment in time, actually, I'm enjoying this stuff. And I really enjoyed it. So, I did that. And I did that for about 4 years. I took a break for about a year, and I said, well, actually, what am I going to do next? And I decided that my second job, it was a national job, and I was traveling up and down the UK, living out of hotel rooms and suitcases, which was really, it sounds really glamorous, but it wasn't. I'm doing 50,000 miles a year. You know, I had a young family at the time, and traveling up and down the UK, Manchester, Wales, Basingstoke, London, Wednesbury in the Midlands, Norfolk. In fact, I used to go to Thetford as well. And so I used to travel up and down quite a lot. And I thought, well, this is getting a bit tiresome. It was a great job, great perks. It was a senior role.
Was this for the Davis Group or Rentokil?
This is with the Davis Group.
Okay.
At that point, I said to myself, well, what am I going to do differently now? And my wife had already opened up a wedding shop in Romford, and then we subsequently opened up a second wedding shop in South Woodford. So at this stage, we had two wedding shops. My wife was running. You know, she's the real entrepreneur. She was out there doing stuff, and I just would go in on weekends and help. But our second shop was in South Woodford, and it was a 3-story building. Okay. And I thought, let me just go in there for a while and just kind of reflect on what do I want to do. And at that stage, I hadn't done my PhD at this stage, and I was helping out in the shop, and I was going back. I was doing some consultancy work, and my first client was the Davis Group. They became my very first client again.
Fantastic.
So I was operating part between doing some consultancy work and then operating out of the shop. Then my old finance director and I, who at Rentokil, contacted me and said, Carlton, you know, we spoke about years ago starting our own washroom business. Yes, wow. We talked about it. And at Rentokil, one of the divisions I worked in was Rentokil Healthcare, initial washroom services. So we did things such as sanitary bins, hand dryers, air fresheners, nappy units. It wasn't considered a sexy business, but actually it was a very good business. And so from the 3rd floor of our wedding shop, we turned it into offices, and we operated out of there for about 18 months. We grew the business to a few digits, and we ended
Good.
up selling it.
Wow.
So we sold the business. We moved our offices down into Lee Green in South London, and we had these offices and warehouses, and we were there operating. We had about 12 staff. It was a good business. It was a great business, and our single biggest client was Canary Wharf Estate. We looked after Canary Wharf Estate. That was our single biggest client. So
that's not too shabby.
At that point, it was all right. We did all right.
That's all right. Good.
And at that point, when my business partner and I decided that there's an opportunity come along, we said, let's just flip the business. It was appropriate time. It was the right time.
Good.
I thought, what am I going to do? And I thought, let's go back and do my PhD, because I'm going to go back full time now, back into consultancy at this stage.
Good.
And as a consultant, I wanted to think, well, how am I going to be different to the market? And how am I going to differentiate myself? And I thought, well, lots of people do stuff around strategy, diversity, and leadership, but only 2% of the population have a PhD. So let me see if I can position myself as a pragmatist. So I've got a lot of corporate experience. So I can use that, and that's really important, because experience is fundamentally important as far as I'm concerned. But coupled with that, I also then have a strong academic background. So when I'm pitching to a client or talking to a client, I can say, well, actually, yes, I've got 20 odd years of corporate experience, running P&L, profit and loss, having 25 million under revenue, having 300 members of a staff, all that kind of stuff. But equally so, I'm also quite academically robust. So those two things, that was the rationale for me going back into academia. Really.
Makes sense.
And that was it. So I wanted to give myself a different position. So when I was knocking on that door saying, hey, I can do some work for you, they can say, well, what can you offer? Well, 20 odd years of experience, corporate world. Equally so, I've run my own businesses. And similarly, I've got a strong academic background, so I understand business and the business models, but from a practitioner's perspective, in real terms, not just theoretical. But I also understand the theory.
Top of the class, gold star. We like this.
That definitely makes a lot of sense, because one of the things that one of the things usually said about academics is that they have no practical experience, but you are positioned really, really well. And in fact, that was one of the things that struck me once we kind of I met you that first time, and I was doing the Googling. And that was really, that came across really strongly, the academic side, as well as the practical executive stroke managerial experience with a bent towards sales. Because academics and sales don't necessarily go hand in hand. So you are really uniquely positioned for that.
It's so true.
And I think, what it's like, though. You're out there, and people either try and put you in a box. Oh, he's an academic, they don't know a lot and stuff. But actually, it's the practitioner. It's the one who's got that, that knowledge that you acquire over time from just experience and expertise. And I think that's so invaluable. You can't put a price on that expertise and experience. I think it's really important. Yes, you can read a book and you can talk about theories, and that's great. But how do you really apply that stuff in the real world?
Absolutely.
And that's for me is the critical stuff. So so that's what it was. So that was the bit of the journey.
What I want to ask, because it sounds like with the benefit of your beautiful wife, that you've happened into your entrepreneurial exploits. So was there kind of like an ambition for business before all of that, or is it kind of like journeyed its way along?
I think I've been surrounded by entrepreneurs, and my mother, bless her soul, rest in peace, and she was a real matriarch. My mum's from Livingston in Jamaica, and even my mum was born in 1923. She, bless her soul, she died 2 years ago. But even then in Jamaica, she used to say to me, in Livingston, they didn't really go to the coast, so they didn't go to Montego Bay or Ochi. They didn't do those things. So she would organize trips, even then, to go to Ochi. And she would sew clothes and sell, and she would do those things in Jamaica. And then when she came to the UK, my mum was the person that did the partner,
Yes.
the Susu. She was the one that did she still did the coach trips to. I've been to Skegness, to Blackpool, to Barry Island. She was, places, Littlehampton, all of those places. Mum used to
Oh my goodness.
coach. She was the one who did the dances. She held dances together, got the steel bands on stage, and she got a sound system. So my
Mama
first
Brown
sight
up one with things.
yes,
The original social entrepreneur.
Love it.
She was. Listen, all those sound systems, Jimmy Cliff, you name it. That was in our house sometimes. Mum was the first time I saw a party was a blues party in my house with my mum serving curry goats and rice and peas and selling it, and then selling beers. She was just so
wow.
innovative
Well
and
done.
creative. That was her. So I think I've always seen that in her, and clearly, my wife, she was also very entrepreneurial. So and I saw that in her, and I just felt, I kind of had that kind of mindset, but I've been surrounded by it. And then when I met when I first met my brother-in-law, who came up from Jamaica as a young 12-year-old young boy.
Yeah.
And when I met him, he had a property portfolio in Knightsbridge, Buckingham Palace, St. John's Wood. And I'm looking at, and he was driving this beautiful Mercedes, Basil, his name is Basil Redis. And he was driving this car, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, wow, I've not seen a black man in my environment, in my arena, in my space that was doing that stuff. And I looked at him and said, wow, this guy, he was just like he was just like a role model for me. He really was.
Yeah.
And even now we still talk about it, the things that he did, and the journey he was on. And I just valued what he was saying. He said, even coming to the UK, I used to get beat up by the Teddy boys and the skinheads, but the Jamaicans, we stood up strong, and we had our little battles. But he said, despite all of those, I opened up estate agents, and I'm going, I'm like, like a kid. I'm like a kid. I'm listening to these stories. I'm like, wow, this is brilliant stuff. And I suppose being surrounded by my mom and my wife and my brother-in-law, I saw things and then developed that skill set within the corporate world and that appetite to do more, and that's how I got there, I suppose.
That's fantastic.
That's brilliant. I was looking at your Aspire consultancy, and what I love about it is you've got all of this experience, all of these skills, and it's now sharing it to support primarily for business and entrepreneurs, but really looking at the diversity issues. So really supporting Black and Asian people, who are in business. And I love that. Tell us a little bit more about that.
In 2017, so if you like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a consultant, and I'm a part-time academic, right? So I still write, and I'm always curious. And part of that curiosity is that the academic side says, well, actually, what's going on here? So in 2017, I wrote a chapter in the book about corporate social responsibility and diversity within the supply chain. But that was generally a very homogenized look at it. So we looked at the terms BAME, Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic. So I was looking at the whole overall cultural issues, what were going on around diversity. But then we had the lockdown and everything else, and I got more into what was going on with Black entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because the data was then saying to me, and the literature is saying, look, if we want to grow our business, we need funding, and we were the least likely to get access to funding. In that case, access to finance was an issue.
Access to finance,
mentorship. We had lack of social capital. That was what do I mean by social capital is lack of access to people, resources, and opportunities. We didn't have really good networks. So there was lots of systemic and structural things that were not happening to specifically. It happens to lots of communities, but when we started to drill down and get underneath it, Black and African Caribbean diaspora were the most affected. So there were so many disparities in wealth creation. So access to finance, we are less likely to earn a higher salaries in the workplace. But similarly, even when we finish university, we are less likely to have a salary, 25% likely to earn less than our counterparts who have just completed their same degrees.
Yeah.
Only 36% of Black people, African Caribbean diaspora, own properties in the UK. So, you know, when you think about the education, you think about poverty, you think about health outcomes, there are so many structural and systemic issues going on within our community. And I was just fascinated, particularly around entrepreneurship. So I think if we need to get out of our particular situation, we have to do something differently for ourselves.
Yeah.
But how do we do that? And I think access to the supply chain is one of those areas which we can do that. So if you think about it this way, there was a guy called Dr. Glenn Lehman. He wrote a book called The Jamaican Entrepreneur. And he said that, you know, there are two reasons why people go into business or become entrepreneurs. One is about out of necessity, and one is about opportunity. And I think when we think of ourselves as a culture, as a community, often we don't have the opportunity, so we do things out of necessity.
Absolutely.
So we have to make things happen. You know, if we didn't have money, we make clothes, we do things, we are innovative. And what I also discovered in the research was that Black and African Caribbean people they're 8% more likely to be more innovative than other counterparts and other ethnicities. So if you think about business and entrepreneurship, it's about innovation, it's about solving problems.
And creativity.
And if you've got a group of people that are innovative and creative, you know, they're going to solve problems for you. They're going to come up with new ideas what you're not accustomed to. So I think entrepreneurship is a key thing for us. It's about getting access, but it's access to those opportunities. So looking at that, I looked at the disparities, access to opportunities. And if you think about the public sector, for starters, it's in procurement terms, the public sector spends circa 2.9 billion per annum in public expenditure in procurement. Now, within the SME markets, small, medium enterprises, ethnic minorities represent 16% of the ethnic minority market.
Okay.
But yet still only less than 1% of the expenditure from that 2.9 billion goes to ethnic minority businesses.
Okay. So, hold on, just stick a pin right there. Stick a pin right there.